Welcome back to Just Got Paged. I'm Hayley Paige, and today we are talking all about inspiration and keeping that creativity flowing. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe below so that you don't miss a smidgen of sparkle. So the number one question I probably get asked is, where do I get my inspiration? And it's always such a multifaceted question because in true cliche form, I pretty much get it everywhere. But I thought I'd also talk about what my creative process is like and how I stay creative, as well as what happens when I have no ideas whatsoever. I would say my biggest form of inspiration comes from just the general mindset that there is always another gorgeous bride to design for, and there is always another beautiful dress to create. When it comes to setting a vibe, I always like to think of energy as if it's a universal language. So I like to surround myself with a ton of visuals and really just get into the proper mindset. So that typically comes with a soundtrack. Every season, I kind of switch gears into a different genre of music. Sometimes I'm just listening to classic rock, other times I switch to folk music. It helps kind of set the beat and the tone to my design process. Another thing that is super important for me is I truly believe out of sight, out of mind. So for me, anything that I'm currently working on or mulling over for design, I keep on my inspiration board in my office. It's just right there in my face and I can continually look toward it. That all being said, sometimes things can get stale for me. And that's also a good thing because if I tire of it quickly, it typically means that it wasn't maybe that great of an idea. Now, when it comes to keeping things creative, I think it's just important to remind yourself that if you want to be creative, you have to surround yourself with creative activities. So it doesn't necessarily have to be drawing and design, it can be baking, it can be DIY projects. I love just having the opportunity to really learn something new and keep in mind that I am always a student of design and there's always something new to learn. I think one of the other elements of just my upbringing is that I was exposed to creativity at a very young age, so I'm a huge advocate for being playful and always using my imagination even as an adult. A lot of times I do get into designer ruts. When this happens, my go-to is to kind of get out of my environment and get out of my head so that I'm not wasting time mulling over the fact that I can't think of anything. I like to travel and get out of the office, just kind of immerse myself in a new atmosphere. I also keep in the back of my mind that the business is multifaceted and has so many different moving parts. So if I refocus my energy in another area of the brand, whether it's content building for social media, it's coming up with future storylines on trends and styles of the week, or it's actually talking about sales, distribution, fit, manufacturing, what have you, there's just so many different areas where I can give attention to so that I'm kind of staying in the game. I wouldn't consider myself a procrastinator, but I consider myself a procrastinator. And what happens with this is that I get hung up on a craft project that has nothing to do with my real work, but there's some type of emotional investment that happens from it and I can really get caught up in it. A perfect example of this is when I decided to hand draw every GIF and emoji in the Holy Matchmoji program for our app, which was an enormous investment of time. I find time management to be very, very important, and lucky for me, I learned time management very early on in life because I was a competitive gymnast growing up, so I really had to learn how to balance my schoolwork with my athletics, and that is something that I've kept with me throughout building the business because you really do need to prioritize. In those moments of doubt or when you're feeling like you have no ideas whatsoever, one of the other little tricks I like to pull from my sleeve is fitness. I love working out and I do it more for my mind and endorphins than I do it for my body, but it just makes me feel like I'm being productive. And once you kind of have that, you can take it into your workspace, and I find that the day goes a lot smoother and the ideas come quicker. And let's be honest, I also love a good night out with some fabulous people and a nice cocktail. So your quick pro tip for this segment is to write things down. I think the biggest lie I probably tell myself is, oh, I don't need to write that down, I'll remember it. In fact, I never remember it. So anytime that something comes to me in a moment, even if I'm out with friends or I'm in a business meeting, if I hear something or think of something, I write it down, I draw it out so that I have that for memory and I can apply it later and I don't have to worry about remembering everything. All right, well, thank you for staying with us. I hope that some of what I delivered helps you feel inspired and creative. I will leave you with the ABCs of design. We all know the ABCs of selling is always be closing, but the ABCs of design is always be creating.